What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 53 of Axioms on Trial. We have a lot of awesome news for you. First off, I just got done with a script for video for epistemology, which will lead into Gettier cases, examples of Gettier cases, and then internalism versus externalism for justification, so on and so forth. We'll basically just keep adding and adding as we go. And so I'm really excited to start recording that and figuring out the editing process on all that. But yeah, so we have a lot of good stuff coming on here soon. I think I'm getting an echo from you, Cease. I'm going to mute you real quick. Yeah, so today what we're going to do is we're going to break down some clips while Cease is getting his audio checked. We will go over the video, Why is the Quran a Miracle? I don't think it is, but maybe this video will convince us. Cease, I know you. Well, you're already back off there. For anyone that didn't know, you should go check out Talk Heathen this Sunday. I hosted with Matt Dillahunty, which was really cool for me. And then next week I'll be doing Atheist Experience with him, and that'll be super cool as well. So looking forward to that. So just watch out for that if you are interested in the stuff that either me or Cease do. Cease, I think you might be back. Looks like you got your stuff. We are kind of impromptu again on this one, so we're going to just kind of break down a clip. I've watched a brief bit of it, not much. I'm not sure if we'll finish the full thing or not. Cease, maybe you can kind of fill in. I think you sent me this clip, but I don't even know where you stand on it. So,
okay, a few things. First of all, I just bought new headphones because I left my other ones in the city when I went to see the soccer game, which, by the way, in Italy won the European Championship.
Yeah,
the game was a torture to watch, but I'm very happy that they won.
It's bittersweet because like I'm part Italian, but my dad's like straight from England, so yeah. I was rooting England, but congrats.
Thank you. But so I bought these headphones today, thinking that by the time I got back, they would already be charged, which was probably stupid of me. But I tried to charge them a little bit, and then so I don't know how long they're gonna last, or if I'll have to continue muting myself, and it's a bit of a mess at the moment. But
well, it's all good. We're getting the gear situated on either side, and if anything happens in that case, if we're at the halfway point or something like that, we could just make this a part 2 if that happens. So we'll kind of play it by ear today. It'll be just a fun little impromptu thing. Did you want to mention anything before we get into it, or I kind of said everything I want to say at least?
Yeah, a couple of things. So, well, you asked me a question, didn't you? So maybe
I forgot already.
I think you asked me where I stand on the video, I think.
Oh, I don't know where you stand in terms of whether you've watched it or I don't think you have.
I think I sent you 3 different ones, and I forget if this one was one of the ones that I did watch. I think I watched part of it, but
let me interrupt you just real fast. For people that don't know, me and him will find clips and not watch them and send them to each other and be like, "Hey, you want to do this?" And sometimes we'll go through it, and sometimes we think it's fun just to tackle it blind. I kind of look at it like in rock climbing, which I don't really know anything about, but I was watching a video of a guy, and I think it's called flashing. It's called flashing the mountain, which is doing it on your first try. And so that's kind of what I think is fun the most sometimes to do with clips. It's just kind of to flash it and see what happens. But sorry, go ahead.
No, the other thing I was going to say was I may do a show either with you or on my own, depending on next time you're free.
Sure.
On a conversation that I'm having with somebody on social media, which I think highlights why I find theism to be so arrogant. And I want to get into what that conversation is involving. Maybe we can do it together if you want to.
Yeah, I'm up for anything. Yeah. I have no context, so that would be even more interesting to me to kind of unravel it on the show.
Outside of that, I while I was out, I got an email asking me to. I mean, I guess I can announce it, right? Or should I wait?
I would wait. I would wait.
Wait. Okay.
Yeah,
You
let's
actually
get
probably
let's
right.
get let's get a date and we'll make that.
I mean, I'll just say without giving details that I may be going on one of the better known ATS uh, shows in the near future as
Yeah.
a co-host for an episode or so.
Yeah, that
So
would and that'd be really cool if we'll whenever we do know, I mean, or when you know or whatever, we'll
yeah,
bring
I'll
that up.
announce it officially.
There is actually one thing we can announce, which is the 19th, in about it's a week from today, I guess. We'll be actually doing a show as well, and I'll put the link in the description for that. But I believe it's the premier frontier secular premier secular frontier. I don't know if I'm saying that.
I think it's Prometheus.
Yeah,
Prometheus.
I'm just sorry. I'm so bad at remembering
remember
like
those.
names.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm terrible too.
but
no, they're good guys. I've been there on the show a couple times before.
I was gonna mention you've been on there, and they reached out, and unfortunately I couldn't do it on the date that we had. But anyway, you want to just break down the clip and get into it? So we have
one last thing. Congrats and great job on the show that you had with Matt Dillahunty. That was great to watch.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was really fun. It was not something I expected to happen, which is cool. So, but yeah,
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I was thinking I have the clip up here. Yes. Let me get an audio check. Make sure we're good. We're good. You heard the.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Again, for the everyone for the title of this, if you can't read, I don't know why I just assume people can't read the title of this thing that we put there. It's called "Why Is the Quran a Miracle?"
And then for some reason, in parentheses, powerful.
Yeah, powerful. That's my favorite part. All right, let me shift over my screen, and we're good.
Islam, faith is not blind. It is based off knowledge and rationality.
All right, sorry. This is going to be a common theme. This is why I don't think we'll get through the full thing. We are too pedantic. If your faith is based on knowledge, well, then we're just talking about knowledge, right? At that point, so you have knowledge and a claim. Cool, awesome. All right, so no need to relegate it to something called faith or trust. If it's knowledge, then I assume it's justified and true. Do you want to see how they to go on about that? But I just wanted to point that out.
I'm gonna bet $1,000. I bet you won't take that. This is not gonna be rational.
Well, so I know. I remember this part very specifically. I didn't get through the full video, but yeah, let's see.
When Muslims are asked why they believe Islam is the truth, they respond by saying the Quran is the proof.
Great. So the first fallacy in the first 24 seconds. Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, but hold on. Maybe they'll elucidate on it a little bit more.
How difficult is it to understand that the books are the claims and not the evidence? How fucking difficult is that concept?
Yeah, I don't know. People mock that. People mock that. They're like, yeah, it's just. I've heard people. They'll message me on YouTube and they'll do it, and that oh, it's just the claim, not the evidence, and it's like, yeah, that's how it works. I mean, if you want to grant a murderer's testimony, that's just like, I didn't do it, as part of the evidence. I mean, you have extremely low standards at that point, or you don't care about anything independent.
But when they are asked to explain how,
here we go.
It can be difficult to give a satisfying answer because there is just so much that can be said.
All right. I've heard spiritualists say that about crystals and manifestation. Well, let's go.
So, how is the Quran a miracle? Allah revealed a verse in the Quran affirming that he would protect his revelation from ever being corrupted.
Okay. God, I'm gonna have to pause this video so many freaking times. Well, first off, let me go back to the talking about knowledge thing. Like, you can't say it's based on knowledge and rationality, and then I know that that's the case because the claims say so, right? That would be like me saying, how can I be sure when I read about, and I use this example a lot, stellar nucleosynthesis, which is an awesome thing to read about. It's very fascinating. In a textbook, how do I know that it's accurate? Oh, well, I just say, well, on page 15, it says so. Like, that's essentially what's going on. Like, but not even that. It's like I have to trust that by a person I've never even met and just go, well, this guy just says it. And so I can use the thing to prove the thing and be extremely viciously circular. Sorry, did you want to add on to that before I play?
Yeah, I was just going to say, every religion and even some ideologies that are not religious make kind of prophetic claims such as that. It's hard to find that it's just factually incorrect because people have different interpretations of the text, which means how are you claiming that this revelation hasn't been corrupted when people interpret it differently? So already there, if you have a different interpretation, they can't all be true, so one has to be wrong. So logically, it's a corruption of it from the start. And well, when we had Infinite Noodle on, she made clear that it has been retranslated, and that
we're getting there.
so these are these are just ignoring facts, which is what they have to do, which is what they always do. So
sure.
1400 years ago. If you think about it, this is a huge claim to make. Yet we find the Quran remains completely unchanged after all these years.
So that's not actually true. I'll put a link in the description for sources on this. But the fact that you claim that it's never changed, well, that is put into question by, I don't know, hopefully I pronounce it right, but that's put into question by the Sanaa manuscripts. But like, let's just pretend that it's never been changed. It does not logically follow that if a message was perfectly preserved, that the initial message that was preserved in the first place was true or even reflective of reality. It just logically, like, if we broke this down into a syllogism, it just doesn't logically follow. And also, if the person's going to say, yeah, but I mean, that can't be the case, there's no logical contradiction. It's actually the case that you can preserve a message very well. Now, the thing that I'll cite in the description has it, I believe, at 95.4 something like percent accurate. Even like if I grant, if I grant it that it's just 100%, it just doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with the validity of the claim.
I mean, everybody, think about this for a second. Everybody listening, any message on the internet, any ideology that's expressed on the internet is going to be saved as it was initially made, even after humanity is gone.
This video will be perfectly preserved.
It will be perfectly preserved, right? So what? Like, why should that give any kind of credence?
Well, it means naturalism is true because our video will be perfectly preserved for.
It doesn't make any sense to me how people can think in this way. Like, they just can't go from point A to point B in any kind of. Anyway,
sure.
Go on.
No matter where you are in the world, the Quran is one, and no two Muslims disagree.
What?
What?
Are they like on drugs?
We don't even have to say anything there. Like the science, we'll just go on because there's like we don't have to. Yeah, it's.
How do you make that claim? How do you make that? I mean, this is like straight propaganda. If that's the case, like, how do you make that claim?
You just do and hope that nobody calls bullshit.
In another verse, Allah says that He has made the Quran easy to learn and asks if there will be anyone that will learn it.
Easy to learn doesn't, let me finish.
Single generation since the Quran was revealed has had memorizers, making it the only book to have passed down in human memory. Considering most Muslims don't understand the language, the speed at which they can learn the Quran is almost unbelievable.
Okay.
So it's easy to learn, but most Muslims have it has to be in a language. It has to be learned. It can't just be.
It just can't be. Yeah, it can't be widely known. But here's the thing that I think is weird to me. Clearly, the Muslim would not be in favor of the Christian using this fast learning bullshit to fly as good evidence, right? Or perhaps maybe their standards are just that low in the first place. But that doesn't seem to me that if it was reversed, that anyone would take that as any good evidence. You can learn it fast. It's like there's what? Where does that logically follow that therefore it's true?
To give you an idea, imagine memorizing a page of Chinese in a matter of half an hour. Today, there are more than 100 million memorized.
Okay, what did the first part have to do with the subsequent ad populum fallacy?
Well, again, what does it matter? There's nothing miraculous about memorization. Okay. So that's like saying, naturalism will be faster. Like how fast something is to memorize is not. I just don't see how that follows that. Therefore, a miracle is going on, and that therefore Islam is true.
Yeah. We have to go back to the fact that these are miracles, right? However,
especially if it's culturally like shoved down your throat, this is what you have to do, and this is what they start doing from a young age. Of course, you're gonna memorize it. Especially the younger you are, the easier it is to memorize things, to learn languages, to do this type of exercise. Total non sequitur, but keep going.
Of all its 600 pages, word for word, letter for letter. You might be asking, why is the Quran in Arabic if most Muslims aren't Arabs? Well, Allah tells us why in many verses. In one, He says to remove any crookedness or confusion.
Okay, so why doesn't that apply to so many ex-Muslims that dedicated their lives to this? Did they not read something that was perfectly? Oh, hold on. I'm reading the bottom of it. Let me let them say it
so that it may be perfectly clear.
So are the ex-Muslims in this case that were trying to understand that they couldn't get, it wasn't perfectly clear? Because which one is it? Is it not perfectly clear? They didn't understand the mess. Like, I don't get it. That seems to cause an issue with any person that leaves the faith that has read the same text.
But even people who don't leave the faith, who are just of a different school of thought, and there are many of those within the Muslim community. In fact, often atheists are accused of generalizing and being Islamophobic for, too quickly generalizing the entire Muslim population. And yet this is saying that everybody agrees and thinks the same way and interprets the same way. This is clearly, we can observe just by looking at what Muslims are saying, that this video is making completely false claims.
We now know that Arabic is one of the most eloquent languages that delivers incredible depth.
It is a beautiful language, and I really like, that, but I don't know where you get to the truth of your proposition.
Depth and precision with the least amount of words. In Arabic, one single word can translate into a full descriptive sentence. If the Quran was in English, it would have to be thousands of pages thicker, if not more, just to carry.
Hold on. What did he say?
Full descriptive. In Arabic, one single word can translate into a full descriptive sentence.
Yeah, you can establish meaning by a one-syllable grunt. Am I supposed to be Muslim now?
If the Quran was in English, it would have to be thousands of pages thicker, if not more, just to carry a close enough meaning.
Okay, Bismillah. 20 minutes, 2 cakes, let's go.
We got it. All right, so what are we doing first? We're doing eggs first, right?
I don't know, those ads.
The effect that the Quran has on those who listen to it being recited can easily be seen from the thousands of reaction videos.
I'm sorry, I'm I came across a video not that long ago of these spiritualists, like a group of them, in a circle crying around a crystal.
You see that with Christians too, right? Crying over.
Yeah, but like, am I supposed to think now that that validates the claim that crystals heal or something? Like, I don't. Anyway, I'll let him finish. Or anything you wanted to say? I'm sorry.
No. It's just that they accept a kind of argument that then they reject when other religions make. It's hypocrisy ultimately.
On YouTube. It literally.
It's also like so we've got an appeal to emotion, we've got an ad populum, and we had a circular reasoning off the bat.
And then total non sequiturs.
And then non sequiturs, yeah.
Brings people to tears, despite them.
And then special pleading with like, hey, look at this fast learning thing. It's like, what? You would not, under any other claim, you would not accept.
According to these people, fast learning, memorization, and crying are evidence of miracles.
Hey, we should be writing this on a whiteboard so we can take notes.
Not understanding the language. Guess what? Allah explicitly told us that people would react like this 1,400 years ago.
People will. There's nothing prophetic about this example. I think was used by either Hitchens or Matt. I can't remember, but I think it's a really good example. There's nothing prophetic about me ordering a steak and then like telling the table like, in time a steak will come my way, right? Or being like, you know what? I'm ordering it medium rare, and I'm prophesizing that they don't actually get it right. That's not prophetic in any way. It's not even novel.
The Quran is self-contradictory because it basically says that it accepts Christianity as part of the sort of revelation, right? But then ultimately disagrees with its inherent message. The Nostradamus made predictions, made prophecies.
This is the first thing I thought of too.
Does that mean that he was supernatural? He didn't claim that he was a prophet of any kind. Like
the book of Daniel. People claim that. You don't have there's no shortage of this.
Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
In the 4th chapter, Allah presents an open challenge. He says, "Do they not reflect upon the Quran? If it had been from anyone other than Allah, they would have found in it much error and contradiction. 14 centuries of critics have passed, and not a single error or contradiction can be found, despite great advances."
Again, this is blatantly lying, because there have been many contradictions and many falsities, especially in the context of science.
Oh, there have there? Well, hold on. Because there's actually something we should talk about before that, and that's the entire idea of things called abrogation, which seems to be designed to try to fix blatant contradictions. Let's go through a few real quick. Quran 2:115 has a contradiction in virtue of the laws of logic. A law being everywhere violates any given two propositions about his locations via excluded middle and non-contradiction. Quran 41:31 states that Allah and angels are guardians, whereas Quran 555 explicitly says that it can only be Allah. In regard whether Allah can even be seen, we get 3 answers: yes, no, or maybe. Quran 53:1-8, Quran 6:103, and Quran 42:51 respectively. In regards to how many angels helped Muhammad at Badr, I don't know if I said that right. 3,000 in the Quran. 3,000 in Quran 3:124, 1,000 in Quran 8:29, and none in Quran 15:8. Those were like just very simple ones to point out.
But don't
sorry,
worry,
yeah.
when you bring this to the Muslims, they'll do the same thing Christians do, right? They'll scream context. They'll say you just don't understand, but never actually provide a solution. Yeah, it's just
in knowledge. Allah has placed many scientific subtleties
Oh, here it comes, the best one.
in the Quran for us to reflect on. For example, the Big Bang that describes the creation of the universe starting from a single point. Or
Which none of that is mentioned. Okay, it does not. These verses do not elucidate on the expansion.
just using the word expanded doesn't reflect an entire theory of science.
And that's exactly what I said. I thought was it vaguely mentions expanse. Doesn't give any substance on what it is. How many elements were fused, what happened during a series of many epochs. It doesn't deal with anything remotely in the realm of particle physics. And worst of all, like none of that is needed by a god, right? Like in naturalism, you're going to expect things to be composite of, for things to be compositely made of atoms, right? But like, why would a god care about fusing elements up to iron in stars and then having heavier elements fuse in supernova? Like why, from my perspective, I don't see, it seems so clearly post hoc.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, I'm going on. This video will be a lot of Mike on a tangent because
but no, you're right. It's all post hoc.
It's just really, really blatantly bad.
And every time that people in the sciences actually point out the fact that the Quran and Islam make scientific errors left and right, they just ignore it. They can't process this reality, which is the same thing that the Christians do. You can only keep this narrative.
Or the crystal clutchers. I mean, it
right.
seems to be a theme with... Anyway.
Go on.
Oh, you were going to say? I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut you off.
No. That was all.
Okay.
That was all.
the expansion of the universe that was discovered in the last 50 years. To give you an idea of how much of a breakthrough this was, Stephen Hawking...
I want to mention one other thing real quick on that. Because it seems weird that, like, God would... I'm so... like, why God would concern himself with atoms or things like that. It seems just undermine the God in the first place to me. That it would require things without, you know, any sustaining cause from it. Just like kind of like pushes a pin over and, you know, it just knocks everything down. It's like that. Adding that step is so unnecessary.
said that this was one of the great intellectual revolutions of the 20th century. This was explicitly mentioned in the Quran 14 centuries ago.
No, it wasn't. Oh, by the way, pause it.
Wait, hold on. What did they say about Go ahead. I have to go back to the Hawkins thing.
Well, the Hawking thing was that he was claiming that the discovery of the expansion of the universe was one of the biggest accomplishments.
Yeah, they said Hawkins...
By the way, Hawkins is an atheist. So.
Yeah, but okay, the way they had the Hawkins quote seemed...
Stephen Hawking said that this was one of the great...
It just seems misleading when you says that this, and prior to... I don't know he's trying to do that, but it seems disingenuous, or that you could lead viewers to think that Hawkins was referring to...
But also, the other point to make is that this is saying, you know, the universe began at the Big Bang. Physicists don't say this. That this is not actually true. We don't know whether or not the universe began. They're talking about a point at which then the laws of physics break down. But they're not actually talking about a beginning with that kind of certainty. So they're making unjustified claims.
And that's the one thing we'll do a video on, where a lot of Muslims go around and they throw the Kalam up like it's this amazing thing. And like, if you talk to any cosmologist, like, or astrophysicist, like, this isn't, like, these aren't taken seriously. It doesn't explain anything. It's just like it's trying to play with language to get you to like, well, things begin to like everything begins to exist, like, or everything that begins to exist has a cause. It's like, okay, let's find out when something begins to exist. Because point out to me when I take aluminum and I make an aluminum sheet and I mold, like when it becomes that, what the cause was of that. This has like methodological utility with no ontological justification for the thing actually beginning to exist. It's just methodologically useful for us to talk like this. It is a notion of Aristotelian causation that is just predated. It's not what we talk about in causation in any light of it.
And it's funny when I brought this point up when we had that conversation with those Muslims. They pointed to, well, did this conversation begin to exist? Like, I'm completely missing the point that was made. Like, it was just embarrassing. And they sent me one of them sent me the William and Craig response to that, which was a total. He said nothing of any value, and we, people can check out that video. Nobody has actually resolved this problem.
Yeah,
we don't observe things beginning to exist. We observe changes in matter.
Yeah, and even if you're going off some inductive assessment on that, you're just so limited. Like, you're talking about something in the domain of where these things follow certain causal order due to laws of physics that are now present that were not the case before specific epochs, right? It's like it is just a way to take for granted how things work now and then relegate it to the fact that it must have that same property in the past as well. It's just not the case. And to think that it must be is just hubris at that point. But anyway.
Intellectual revolutions of the 20th century. This was explicitly mentioned in the Quran 14 centuries ago. More signs include every living thing being made of water.
What? What did he say?
More science includes every living thing being made of water.
Things are made up of elements and atoms. Life is carbon-based. I gotta know what you mean by everything is made of water. The fuck does that even mean?
And mountains as pegs, standing firm and stabilizing the earth from shaking. Amazingly, Allah mentions two seas that meet but don't mix.
An observation. An observation that you can write down in a book and say, oh, hey, or even just let's just say it's just the thought. Let's just say you didn't even see it. You could write down, hey, there's seas that don't like, you could do that, and then it could just be the case. It either is the case or it is not the case.
Right.
Take your pick.
Why do Muslims not take, for example, the Greeks or Romans' ideologies as truth when they've made predictions, when they made observations about nature way ahead of their time, when they were technologically advanced much more than people realized for their time? Like, this is just special pleading. Most cultures and most ideologies most of the time have had some predictions come true, some observations that were accurate, some so-called prophecy, which was, again, all post-hoc, but it's the same kind of argumentation. Yet every theist thinks that these kind of things makes their delusion special.
I can't get over the water thing, because it's like, if you're trying, so here's how you could be right. I'm sorry to go back to this, but you could be right in virtue of talking about like living cells, right? And that it's like essential for production. You could talk about how like majority of plants or humans maybe composed and or be whatever percentage. You could look at it like, but like under what basis is that everything's made of water? Like that, it's such a stupid thing. Like anybody could say that. Anybody could write that down and go, everything's made of water. It seems to be the case. Right? Plants seem to grow when we put water on it. Like maybe that's the case. I mean, I don't see how that inference is a fucking miracle in any way. Sorry.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Ron writes, 2,500 years ago, it was written that humans were over 80% made of water, and it also showed up in the Quran. This was knowledge that was already present.
That's even worse.
Now, I don't know who he's referring to wrote this, but I think it came from multiple sources, these observations.
I'm trying to give them as much toys to play with, and just be like, well, you didn't get this from a previous source. I'm trying to say, no, you conjured up this thought. Like, you did this. Congrats. Like, golf clap.
But again, even if it was
still doesn't do anything for the claim.
Yeah, there's nothing miraculous about it.
But Ron, I mean, if that's the case, great point. I mean, I'm trying to give him as many toys as I can.
Fresh and sweet, the other salty and bitter, and between them being a barrier. All of which science has confirmed.
I'm a Muslim now.
Allah states how the human is formed, which we have found is in the correct chronological order.
The blood clot. Which order is the blood clot part in order? I'd love to know that.
Particularly, Allah describes the embryo in shockingly accurate detail.
Okay. Do you have anything to say on this?
Well, no. What I know is that if anything, embryology and biology and biologists have pointed out errors that they've made. And maybe at some point we'll do a specific list of all the scientific errors that are in the Quran. And then, I would love, at some point we'll open up a phone line to see if any Muslim wants to defend these so-called scientific miracles, because again, nobody in the sciences actually agrees that that they're accurate in the things they're saying. It's just Muslims who are fed this bullshit.
Well, they're not in so babies do not come from blood clots, right? So there's one. There we got one now. It's not shockingly, I think he said shockingly accurate is what he said. No, it's unshockingly a primitive thought is what it is. It's very unshockingly primitive.
It's unshockingly inaccurate.
Yeah, exactly.
And
the Quran also says that a bone was produced first and that muscle subsequently wrapped around it. That's false. And there's no need to even go further. Just compare embryology to the claims in the Quran yourself.
And of course,
go from there.
This is why apologists are exhausting, because anytime you point these out, they'll try to do somersaults, like verbal and linguistic somersaults, to say, no, you're interpreting it wrong. It's actually saying this thing or that thing, to try to obfuscate. It's like, how do you know that you have the correct interpretation, that you're not just interpreting it to fit what now exists in the sciences? It's just. Let me just post this comment. Galen wrote about embryology in the 3rd and 4th century, about the steps of embryology, and it also shows up in the Quran, and the step in the Quran about embryology is wrong. There we go.
All right. I'm going to look into that. That's interesting.
Professor Keith Moore admitted this information could not have been known by man 1400 years ago. Of the historical signs in the Quran include the preservation of the Pharaoh of Egypt.
Oh.
Both the Bible and the Quran mention that he drowned after Moses, peace be upon him, parted the sea. But the Quran
actually, that's what I'm
also makes a very unique statement not found in the Bible. Allah says that he will preserve his body and save it as a sign for future generations. The Quran.
Okay, so the Quran does not, I think is it Ramesses? I think is his name. The Quran does not identify Ramesses by the name. I think it's Ramesses II, if I'm right. By name at all. It doesn't give a specific time. It doesn't even give a name. And also, which I think I have a link for this or not in I have like a giant document of just articles on Quran miracles, and they had dated him around 90 when he died. So they've been able to conclude that he was pretty severely ill and unable to walk, let alone lead an entire army. So, and then I don't know if he mentioned the salt thing, but some people mention salt, like that it'll contain the mummy would contain salt, or what, I can't remember what it was specifically, but I think Egyptologists, what they called, they're gonna tell you that all mummies are gonna contain salt. So it's like not a anomaly in any way, and nothing you could say would be a miracle. Anything you wanted to add?
No, again, nothing about this is remotely convincing or miraculous. And they're just using the same kind of argumentation that any other theist of other religions use. And we know that not all religions can be true. They make contradictory statements, both internally and in relation to other religions.
Yeah.
So Islam can't simultaneously say that the message of Christianity is true, and then say, "Oh, but Jesus isn't God." Like the Quran is self-contradictory in that regard, and yeah. So anyway,
I think that's a good point, especially in relation to others and internally. I mean, it's like a double whammy.
The Quran describes the location where the Persians defeated the Romans as the lowest land. Not only have historians derived that the battle took place near the Dead Sea, scientists have confirmed that this location is in fact the lowest point of land on Earth, 417 meters below sea level.
Yeah. Did you want to say anything on that one?
okay. I mean, even if that was true, where is the miracle?
Well, duh. They guessed something right, and it could only come from a god.
The Quran is full of
that one I'm not as actually familiar with, but I'll definitely look into that. Maybe I'll become a Muslim with that one thing.
stories of previous prophets. Not many people know that Moses, peace be upon him, is the most frequently mentioned name. The Quran also narrates many stories about Jesus Christ, peace be upon him. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is regarded as one of the best women to walk the face of the earth.
What does that even mean?
And how are these miracles? Aside from the fact that many of these figures never even existed. I mean, that's. I mean, I happen to believe that Jesus did exist.
Sure. What does that mean to say someone was one of the best, like, sex? Like, what is that? I don't know what that means. Like, what is the value? Best in virtue of what?
Yeah, and how does that make Islam?
Well, I know it's a moot point that I'm making. It sounds weird to me. It just sounds weird.
I don't see how that makes the Quran miraculous because you have an opinion on the character of history. Keep going.
I'm just like dumbfounded at that statement. Like, I want to hear it again. I was like, did I hear that right?
Mary, the mother of Jesus, is regarded as one of the best women to walk the face of the earth.
Does that not sound stupid to anybody else? Like, it just sounds like really dumb to me to say, like, and Mike was regarded as the best man on the face of the earth. Like, what? What does that have to do with anything? Like, okay, I'm sorry.
And has a whole chapter to herself. Why these story signs? Because there is no way they were plagiarized. In that time, there was not a single library or translation of the Bible available.
I actually have a document this one I have a document for. And I quote, further evidence of the Christian missionary influence is seen in a number of heretical sects that successfully imposed their particular Christian views upon the Arabs, which later influenced the thinking of Islam's founder. Islamic apologist Karen Armstrong wrote, I think I copied the second part on there. But yeah, interesting read. I will post that in the let's see here. At the beginning of the 7th century, Arabs at Central were surrounded by deviant forms of Christianity. And that's Islamic apologist Karen Armstrong.
Just real quick, I'm going to post this. The Quran states the bones form and then they are clothed by the flesh, whereas it's all simultaneous, like you say.
This in the chat if anybody wants to read.
hello to everyone that's tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for tuning in.
I hope you're having a good night.
There are also many linguistic miracles in the Quran.
The fuck is a
Modern
linguistic
research
miracle?
shows that the Quran follows a remarkable structure called ring composition. Let's
Oh, I also forgot to say.
This is gonna annoy me.
Yeah. This one like is this like the subsects of. So if you look in this, then I've heard this argument before. I've never fully like understood it, let alone understood what would be so miraculous. Let me say one thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show. If you guys do want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/axioms on trial. I think we miss saying that sometimes, but it does help a lot. And we actually just got our third patron, and we'll give all our patrons a shout out here on the next show. I want to make sure I get the usernames right. I know Witter and Begin to Know, but there was another one that we got, and I want to make sure I got their name as well.
Let's take chapter 2 of the Quran as an example. This chapter can be split into 9 groups based on the.
If the Prophet ﷺ was alive, and the Prophet ﷺ saw.
Is it a miracle if something that's supposed to be like telling me how something's a miracle gets interrupted by something else?
The image of that young
theme of the group. The first group mirrors the last group. The second group mirrors the second to last
What the
group.
fuck is that a linguistic miracle?
Yeah, I'm gonna back up.
Chapter 2.
I want to hear.
Modern research shows that the Quran follows a remarkable structure called ring composition. Let's take chapter 2 of the Quran as an example. This chapter can be split into 9 groups based on the theme of the group. The first group.
Before I go in, if I had used the same kind of assessment and said, yeah, like, well, this biology book uses this structure, would any of them give a shit? Or would they would be still tackling the empirical issues they have or wanting to see the empirical issues? But it's always convenient to use like linguistic games for your religion. And then just if I tried to do that with naturalism or with any science text or claim, like that wouldn't work.
Let me just post this. Authors have used symmetry in their composition since the dawn of time. Yeah, this is the thing I don't understand is where the fuck is the miracle in the fact that the author set it up that way? That makes it miraculous because you have a symmetry that you've decided on and set it up that way. Like, this is why, I mean, I can't for the life of me comprehend how people think in this way. Like, how people can be convinced by this kind of nonsense. Like, is your wishful thinking and brainwashing that severe that you've just shut down any kind of ability for rational thought? That these are the things that you find convincing?
Yeah,
it's beyond me.
You know, what's crazy to me is that like this Ada brings up a point which is very similar to physics police. In music, like I know people who have written songs and they've set out to, incorporate certain variations of modes in music theory or whatever it is to try to like almost have like, whether even I guess a structure of whether you're just writing a song. Like progressive metal does this a lot where you start to extrapolate and expand on ideas. A band called Meshuggah will cut riffs or ideas and then add them to the segments of other riffs or different phrases. I don't know what's really miraculous about any of that. When the fact that I'm like in my room talking to you on a computer far away while we're like multiple states is like way more impressive. And we know that didn't require a God at all, but I digress.
Mirrors the last group. The second group mirrors the second to last group, and so
amazing.
On. What's more is that there are sub-rings inside each group. In other words, rings inside of rings. If we look at group 8, we find yet another ring inside of that ring. There are also countless other occurrences.
That was
What was
I
that?
feel like it was a terrible way to elucidate on the point.
In the Quran, such as the word day in its singular being mentioned 365 times.
Who cares? Like you had said, Cease. If someone had set that up the way or didn't,
Were you saying that we didn't know like what would constitute a year? Like, what is the claim being made here?
it's the I've heard this before. It's the he'll probably go into the months. Oh, he does. I see at the bottom. I didn't get this far. 365 times that a day, the word day is mentioned, 12 times that the word month is mentioned. Therefore, Allah exists. So, like in premises, the argument would be the Quran mentions the word day 365 times. Premise 2, the Quran mentions the word month 12 times. Conclusion, Allah is our real God.
And the word month 12 times.
And the Mayans made predictions that went on for way longer than even their culture existed for. Does that mean that polytheism is true?
The word life is mentioned the same number of times as death. Angels, the same number.
This is conspiracy level shit. This is like when you look at numerology and you're like, oh, there's 7 of these things, and I saw the number 7 at 7 o'clock, and that must mean that this girl likes me. Or like, it's just so it doesn't. There's no causal connection in any way from grunts that we made and assigned meaning to like this supernatural thing. If you think that's a miracle, like my mind is blown on the levels of standards. Like I've honestly heard better shit from Christians. Like this stuff is really bad. Like really bad.
Whereas devils, good deeds the same as bad deeds, and belief the same as disbelief. These are only just a few examples. Additionally, the Quran describes death, the day of judgment, heaven, and hell in such vivid detail.
Oh, it describes something that none of us can have access to coming back from. It talks about a day of judgment, which is just some fucking idea in someone's head, and the other two follow the same. And what can we do, Cease? Could we compare the actual thing of heaven and Jahannam and the day of judgment? No. And why can't we? Because we don't actually have them to compare to see if that vivid explanation is just not bullshit or if it actually represents the thing at which it is referencing. Sorry, anything you want to say? I feel like I'm walking all over this one today.
No. I mean, it's just keep playing.
It's bad. It's so terrible. I hope that any of my Muslim friends that come, and it's nothing. By the way, nothing against you as a person. It's the same thing with Christians or crystal healers. I just think your beliefs are kind of dumb. Like I don't think that they're. I don't think you're dumb. I think the beliefs are just unsubstantiated. And I'll retract. I don't think your beliefs are dumb. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
I think they're dumb. No, I won't retract. They're stupid.
They're pretty dumb.
And
But
anybody who believes this stuff is intellectually dishonest.
To be as nice as I can, it's extremely unsubstantiated.
In fact, you can hardly find a page in the Quran that doesn't mention the Day of Judgment. All of that whilst presenting a complete way of...
Ada, you're absolutely right. We did choose this low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I would say, pause for a second. I do gotta apologize to the audience. We'll come out with some more interesting stuff.
Yeah, this was, I mean, at least it was, I didn't have to like use my brain really at all for this one. I get to like take a day off.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where we haven't had, between school and other stuff that's been going on, we haven't had too much time to
hey, well, like I said at the beginning of the show, I sent it to you last night. I got a script going. I know we're going to expand on those and record those, so we'll have more. And we'll be doing a lot more here soon.
Yeah, and I'm actually, I started writing down a list of different philosophical concepts that I want to discuss on this channel and also for the Patreons. So we'll be coming out with stuff that's more in depth, but sometimes it's fun to just kind of address, because as dumb as these ideas are, they're so widespread and these talking points are. I mean, I hear this kind of stuff on a daily basis.
Yeah,
So
I guess
sometimes, I kind of get the urge to like want to address it. But yeah.
Yeah.
But Ada, you're definitely right.
Ada's cracking me up. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, I don't remember. Let's continue. God, I've lost my thoughts like twice today. It'll come back to me.
In Islam, anything that causes harm is not allowed, and everything that is beneficial and good is encouraged.
Heroin can be beneficial depending on how you look at it.
Anything that causes harm, then why are
Because
Muslims?
it causes harm.
Why are some Muslims against the LGBTQ community? Why did the Muslim who I talked to on Discord months ago say that he believed it deserved the death penalty? Just curious.
Yeah, I don't even know how to respond to that. It's like people that say shit like that. Like you get that on TikTok a lot. Where you'll see comments like that from ex-Muslim videos, like infidel, and you deserve to die, and all this shit. Or I hope someone like honor kills you. All this crazy stuff.
Maybe they would say that these aren't being good Muslims or whatever.
Oh, I'm not saying it's even indicative of a giant majority or small. I don't know. I have no idea. But what I do know is that it's just an example of how magical thinking just poisons the way that, or has the ability to poison what you think. I mean, this was a huge topic on Talk Heathen last night with Matt. Was like, we even had this when we did our ACA like Discord thing after that, like the AMA, and it's like the question's brought up a lot. It's like, what harm is the belief? If it just like gives me satisfaction or whatever. It's like because it poisons your, like, once you allow that mistake, it's a cascading effect. You just allow yourself to insert that same exact reason into anything else you do. Once you accept magic to fix anything or be the answer for something, like, how does that stop at Y when it didn't for X, right? That doesn't.
Yeah. Also, Muslims ignored the fact that Islam was spread by the sword. Muhammad, he was a warlord. He wasn't.
Yeah. Infidel. If you guys go back and watch Infidel Noodle's video with us, it's rather interesting. I think we cover his slaves as well in that. That might have, maybe, I don't know if that was with Abdullah or with Infidel.
Why is there harm?
Also, the one with Abdullah is really good as well. So go back and watch that if you haven't as well.
Because life is a test. Allah says in the Quran, "He who created death and life to test which of you are best indeed." Islam develops your character. It teaches you how to carry yourself and how to be in control. Islam protects and empowers.
Okay, what?
Test which of you are best indeed. Islam develops your character. It teaches you how to carry yourself and how to be in control.
Is there a verse? Is there verses for that?
Teaches character. Islam is, purity culture at its worst. It's. I mean, I don't even know what to say to this. Like,
that's why I want he put verses for a lot of them, but he didn't for this one. I want to put that juxtaposed to things that I can find. Like, should a man carry himself that he's allowed to beat his wife under circumstances? Like, and that's the thing that they'll highlight. It's like, well, it's under circumstance. Like, it doesn't. What? That's the problem.
Right.
It doesn't, like, just the fact that it happens at all, like that you would even approve that under any circumstance. It's ridiculous, man.
Islam protects and empowers women. It eliminates racism, terrorism, and
what?
Just
all oppression. A good Muslim is one who people feel safe around from their actions and words.
So I have a lot of Muslim friends. I don't ever feel not safe around them, and most of them know I'm a non-believer or atheist, and I don't know, that I don't know like the culture in it and how the discussions are supposed to be handled. I know like during Ramadan, one of my buddies, we can't have the conversations because I don't think he's like allowed to get heated in conversations. If it's like I see things where I'm like, okay, I'm like, I get it, like you can apply discipline from this, but you can do that with anything. Like you could read like Mein Kampf, or you could read any book and single out something and be like, well, I could take this as wisdom, but you just ignore the majority of the things in there that are grotesque and horrible and just entirely detrimental to a specific group of people.
Islam doesn't empower women. Islam takes the power of women away.
Did they say that? Did they say that?
Yeah, and it also, play again.
Terrorism.
I didn't hear that. It says it empowers.
I mean, it's embarrassing. Do women say that
Protects
here
and empowers women.
Yeah, it doesn't empower.
No, it fucking does not. Anisa 34. Are you kidding me? I would pull out my Quran right now, but it's the thing that's holding up my camera so that it's a little higher. But I'm not even joking about that. That's actually the case.
Hilarious.
I'm using a Buddha thing that holds my camera. It's like a Buddha statue type of thing, and that's resting on a Quran, which my cat slept on the other night.
Interpretations of Islam force women in cloth bags. That's the reality. And as far as terrorism is concerned, the majority of modern terrorist attacks are done in the name of Islam, based on interpretations of Islam, at least as a factor in that type of circumstance.
It blows my fucking mind, man. I'm like trying to grasp that. I mean, just
and to some extent,
I believe it's Anisa 34. Let me while you go, I'm gonna look it up.
Well, like Ada said earlier, like yes, this is definitely low-hanging fruit, but I'm occasionally pushed into addressing these kind of things exactly because of the type of effects and hold that these ideologies have in the world. And so I don't know. Like
How does stating that someone's a maintainer of his wife and how he should deal with disloyalty on her part empower that person? How does that not do the opposite?
And everybody listening, you guys should look at the conversations that we had with those two Muslims. I forget which episodes they were, but just hear them make excuses for sexism, homophobia, and slavery and pedophilia the entire time. Just making excuses after excuses during the entire conversation. And yet we're supposed to take, the Quran as being this source of wisdom that makes people better people. I'm not saying that those Muslims reflect the majority of Muslim culture, but there's definitely enough of people who think in this way to make it a problem and to make it something that should be criticized.
It eliminates racism, terrorism, and all.
It creates terrorism.
I get it.
A good
It creates
Muslim
oppression.
is one who people feel safe around from their actions and words, one who people trust, and one who people look up to. A huge part of understanding why the Quran is a miracle is understanding how it was revealed. The Quran came down over 23 years in spoken form. It was not written down. Once verses
Then how can you compare what you have to say that it has not been
changed over, right?
Oh my God.
This came down, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, recited them, and his companions memorized them. Unlike any other.
And so now we have a
evidence for the supernatural. Now that
well, no. I'm saying we have a detailed gap or a detailed, spoken, written down. Okay. You cannot claim. You could. I mean, yes, you could claim in virtue that the initial thing that was written down was, but that's not the initial message. Now we have no idea. Sorry, do you want to?
No. Go on.
The book,
Man, I never thought a video would frustrate me so much.
the Quran did not go through an editing process. Once the verse was spoken, it was done. That was the final version.
And we just know this, and we take this for granted.
But even if it was true, that doesn't provide any reason to believe the message.
Yeah, well, again, you know, this video, right? Like we said earlier, everything we said, Cease, we actually have a better thing. It wasn't even written down. It was like immediately put into a file for us, right? That we can access at any time. And it wouldn't matter about what matters is the content that's being said. Jesus.
The verses were not revealed in order, starting from chapter 1.
If any Muslim tries to like come and say, "Well, you guys didn't do that. No, this video is wrong. This part was wrong." I'm gonna go, "No, it can't be because our message was perfectly preserved from when we started it."
I just want to post this. Ada says, we always get men telling us how women in the Muslim world feel. Someone should conduct a poll asking only women in the Islamic world about their feelings and experiences. Yeah, 100%.
I think that's a brilliant idea. I wonder if that exists already or not.
1, 2, 3, and so on. The chapters and verses were revealed out of sequence. Furthermore, they could not be planned ahead of time. They were revealed as a result of life experiences that were out of the Prophet's control.
Schizophrenia, delusions, hallucinations, drugs.
Such as enemies challenging him or the believers asking him life questions. To summarize, the Quran has been perfect.
And then he used it to weaponize and become a warlord. Like,
preserved
sounds legit.
For 14 centuries, whilst excelling linguistically, scientifically, historically, and mathematically. It has a profound impact on those who listen to it.
I've listened to it. It didn't do any of that to me. I was disgusted.
And is memorized and recited by hundreds of millions of people worldwide. It brings forth a complete way of life and fills the hearts with peace and purpose. Humanity is yet to rise to its challenges, as Allah promised, and it's safe to say that no matter what angle you look at the Quran, it shows no weakness. Allah says, if you are in doubt, then produce even a chapter like it. Then he says, call upon your witnesses.
Are you kidding me? I could take exactly what's there and just make it better. I'll take Anisa 34 out. I'll take the contradictions out. We can make it better. We can just improve on it already.
In other words, go ahead, work in a team, gather all of humanity, and try your best. He then seals the challenge by...
First off, or secondly, I guess, if it comes down to you and your subjective opinion, like you're just clearly going to be predisposed and go, no, that's not good enough. Someone else might think that it is the case. Actually, I think that's better. Now what do we do? It's just like a he said, she said, but it's book against book.
One other thing is, we could create a religion, and I think Harris actually makes this point as well, that, would urge everybody who believes in it to study mathematics, science, to respect human values, to not harm anybody, and make those ideas dependent on a deity. I think he describes it as a three-headed dog named Dexter. And if everybody believed in this religion, we will live in a better world. Yet, there's nothing about its utility in this context that says anything true about its metaphysics. There's nothing about this video that this guy posted that most of what he said is factually completely wrong. And the things that were accurate are not miraculous on any level. This is just pure wishful thinking.
That is pretty bad. Well, I guess we keep going.
By saying, if you do not, and you will never be able to. 1400 years have passed, and no book, or text, or speech in any language comes close to competing with the
Says
quality.
who? This is just this is just your opinion because you're a Muslim who
Dude,
has
no,
been brainwashed to believe bullshit.
bro, no song has ever come close to Meshuggah's Bleed. It's just, I don't care what you say. That's the argument. It's so shitty.
Eloquence and perfection of the Quran. A lot of people think if they follow Islam, they're going to deprive themselves of things they would have otherwise enjoyed. Actually, the opposite is true. Allah tells us that if we live life by His book, burdens are lifted and life becomes so much better and easier.
Again, what about the ex-Muslims that had both sides and disagree with that, as opposed to Muslims that have just always been Muslim?
Right.
Anything you want to add? I'm sorry, I keep just playing.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Let me apologize to you on air for
No, you're good.
being so quick on the gun.
I don't have
today.
anything to say.
Yeah, I've pretty much exhausted it at this point.
The freedom, peace, and harmony found in the heart of a true Muslim cannot be described until it is experienced. Allah has given us countless signs. Will we continue turning our backs?
Yeah. All right. I don't care about the rhetoric at the end. We will close out of that. Well, we got through the whole thing. I thought I'd be hung up for freaking ever, but any closing remarks for you or things that you want to mention? Because my brain is about shot now.
No, it's just, it's always the case that people who are theists want to, like even the last thing we just heard, nothing has come close to the perfection of the Quran. It's a meaningless statement. This is you making up stuff because it sounds good to you. There's nothing perfect about the Quran. There's nothing, from my perspective, beautiful about it. Just another one of this garbage holy books that have caused needless suffering that deserve to be criticized. They're contradictory, they're flawed, and apologists need to ignore reality to make the kind of claims that they're making. And it's not an accident that the majority of, again, we'll get some theists that let me put it this way: for every 20 theists, whether Muslim or Christian, who have tried to get on here to kind of challenge their ideas, we'll get maybe one to agree to come on. That to me is interesting. Sure. If you are so confident and you have all this evidence, and your belief is clearly the truth, then it shouldn't be hard to get your message across to people.
But the beginning of the video, there's just so much.
Right. So that's all I really have to say. But yeah, we'll come out with some more interesting content soon. This was just kind of a fun thing to do once in a while.
You know what I think would be funny? I just came on top of my head, but what if somebody watched that video and was actually just convinced by, they didn't think much about it. They hear that and they're convinced by that video, and they're like, wow, I think Islam is true. Wouldn't it be weird that in virtue of the video that someone talking about it would be the case as opposed to actually reading it? I know certain people that take philosophical arguments and have switched their beliefs in that way, and I'm not even sure they've ever actually read the Quran. Maybe they have, but maybe they have by now. But it's strange to me. I wonder how many people that influence. But it's would the Quran have done that on its own? I don't know. It's going to be dependent on the person and how bad their standards of evidence are, from my perspective. If you're just willing to accept metaphysical claims like that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is that people think is I don't know what people think about in writing or in a book that isn't expressed in various other texts, somehow like differentiates itself. And then it's like, yeah, praise this God that also allowed for all the fake ones to confuse us and it's like use the same exact arguments. And
I can list 20 books that are far superior to the Quran in every conceivable way. Like, it's not hard.
Now this I'd love to see. I think that'd be great. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna. Oh, I think I saw some people in here I didn't say hey to. Pessimistic idealism. I want to. By the way, I'm curious. Like, I never really got to know what you are. I assumed like Christian, but I don't want to assume. Whenever I get back to my DMs with you, I'm curious to know. Watch him be like, "Oh, I'm Muslim." Like, oh. Anyway, Geo Sam, Danny. That's a new name.
Titan.
I can't. Screen's really tiny.
Robespierre's
grandpa. Okay. My brain is shot apparently from this video. I can't even think now. So I'm gonna sign out. Cisa, did you want to? I don't even know if I asked you if that's what you did already. That's how bad this was. We're just gonna call it. We're gonna end it right now. It's done. It's over.
I was just gonna say, as always, thank you everyone for tuning in.
I'm just kidding. Sorry.
And thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll come out with more interesting stuff soon. Just once in a while, you have to sort of look at these types of
yeah. It reminds me of the flat earther kind of clip where it's like someone says something so profoundly dumb, like was it Professor Dave? He's like, flat earthers will often say that water finds its level and does not curve, and it's like, what's funny about that is in the tool, the level, like the thing you like put on your desk for level, is like, what is that in the middle? It is a bubble. What is it doing? It is curving. It's like you just like break it down in this way where you're like, how did you not even? Anyway, guys, I will end the show on. Actually, I see that clip's in there, so I will end that clip for the 6 people that are in there, and we'll get out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, you can support us Axioms on Trial, or patreon.com/Axioms on Trial, or super chats and things of that nature. We super appreciate it. If that even makes sense. I'm not making any sense at the end of this stream. Peace out.
Number 3. All flat earthers say the same 2 things about water. The first is, water doesn't curve. And the second is, water finds its own level. What's most hilarious is that even in the tool called the level, which only works because gravity exists, there is a curved bubble right in there. If the bubble is curved, what is the liquid, which is mostly water, doing around that bubble? It curves. It is absolutely astonishing how the things you repeat from Flat Earth videos are incompatible with even the most trivial everyday observations. You should acknowledge that.